Hi, my name is Katerina, and I'm the Director of User Experience here at Habanero. We're just starting a series of videos around various trends that we're noticing cropping up in the realm of user experience. We're going to kick off with our first one here today with Jazz, who is information architect here. And the trend we're going to be talking about today is prototyping. So with that, talk about prototyping.
Well, prototyping, is a trend that's been around for a while, especially in industries like architecture where they do models, or in film where they do set design and they look at things before the actual final product is released. So it's something that it's a natural fit when we design websites, when we design intranets as well. And I like to use prototyping when I'm trying to think about the flow of an application, how something might work. If there's multiple states of something as well, somebody clicks on something and different behavior is expected, and then if there's another path and different behavior is expected, I like to prototype that as well. It helps us think through the entire application.
Absolutely.
So an example of this is just recently I'm working on a project which is sort of a big project where there's a lot of sort of pages for a portal, and it's in the policies and procedures area. And it's 3,000 pages. It's a lot of stuff. And we need to figure out a good way of navigating through all of that. It's a faceting, tagging mechanism. And a nice way to do that we found was to prototype things early so that we could figure out what is the best model for people to navigate this stuff. And we had to get familiar with the content though first. We had to understand what people were trying to do in order to prototype, but we came up with a couple of options and then we could figure out which one felt the most efficient.
Right. And how do you decide what you're going to prototype? Are they concepts that you're finding the client is having trouble with, or do you just have standard things that you like to prototype that's part of the project process?
I think probably a bit of both. I find at the beginning of a project I like to do sort of a rough, quick and dirty prototype with paper, just because you're exploring multiple ideas, you're still thinking through some high-level concepts, and it's a quick way to just put some pages together and then see how that feels. And I can throw that into PowerPoint, I can put it into Keynote or something, and let people click through that as well, or show it to a client in person.
Right. Okay, well that's a good segue, because my next question for you was, so how do you go out prototyping? You've given some examples.
Yep.
Yeah,
sure. So besides the paper stuff, we use Fireworks a lot for wireframing mockups. And in that you can just add little hotspots and we can make things clickable. We can also use frames to show different behaviors. As well, Sketchflow, Microsoft Sketchflow is a new tool out there. I haven't used it that much, but I've heard it's pretty good for prototyping as well. But really, it just comes down to figuring out what your prototype needs to do, what is your goal of your prototype, and then using the best tool that you know that fits that need.
Right, right. And would you say that often a goal is to present something that actually really looks a bit rough, so that the client doesn't get confused that you're presenting something that's a lot further along than it is?
Yeah, for sure. And I like to make sure that, when we do these kinds of prototypes, it does look like it's still a work in progress. And so it might be the sketch thing, which obviously looks like it's rough. Also, if we're doing wireframes or more, sort of higher fidelity kind of things, I might gray box certain elements just to show that, this stuff is still a work in progress. We're still working through these things.
Right. Obviously you feel that this is an important trend. You've given some examples already. Anything you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, I just think it just helps a lot in our projects, especially getting buy-in and moving the projects along and people understanding what an application is supposed to do. That communication factor just helps so much when you prototype something out versus looking at static images or paging through a PDF file. I just find it's just way faster, you get buy-in earlier, and people kind of understand how something's supposed to work.
Absolutely, totally. It's like when you're trying to buy a couch and all you see is a little swatch and you have to try and imagine what that's going to look like. It makes it a little tougher.
It'd be a little bit easier.
A little tiny couch at least.
Yeah.
The right color would help.
Yeah, that would help.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we're basically at time, so that was great. Are there any final things you'd like to share with people?
Well, I think there's a lot of great resources out there too. There's a new book that's out from Rosenfeld, and it's prototyping for practitioners, and so that's an interesting read if people want to learn more.
Awesome. Okay, well hopefully you got something out of this. We'll be back with a few more video clips in the coming weeks, so hopefully we'll see you again.
Thanks.